for the Dana White / Zuffa Boxing versus the four major sanctioning bodies, WBC, WBO, IBF, and WBA, for the World Boxing blah, 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 blah. Okay? It's the big fight. Okay? And as you know, I've been talking about the Dana White Zuffa Boxing thing, and I'm supportive of it. I really think that it could work, okay? And I think as time is going on, it's proven that to me. Here's some fuel for the fire. Shakur Stevenson, if you guys recall, let me go back a second. If you guys recall, Terrence Crawford refused to pay the sanctioning fee for the WBC and ultimately was stripped of his belt. And it became, he said, she said, finger pointing in the world of boxing. And I was kind of surprised at how many people took the side of the WBC. Not yours truly, but a lot of people did. People in boxing, not just boxers. You would think the boxers would too. But nay. Terrence Crawford, being the true champion he always has been, stuck to his guns. And guess what? Shakur Stevenson, with his last, I think, career-defining win, he was stripped of his WBC lightweight title. And why? And this was right after he beat Teofimo Lopez. Now, granted, the Teofimo Lopez fight was junior welterweight, right, or super lightweight, or whichever sanctioning body you're looking at. And the WBC stripped him of the lighter weight, the lightweight one. And they said, oh, well, he's campaigning in that weight class. Initially, they said, the reason is because he's campaigning in the junior welterweight class. And to be honest, Shakur Stevenson never officially announced it. If you recall, prior to the fight, he said he planned on going back down to the lightweight division. But nay, it comes out that, yes, indeed, the reason why the WBC stripped him of his belt was because he didn't pay the sanctioning fee, okay? Now, then it was just announced today that Keyshawn Davis is saying publicly that belts don't matter. Okay, belts don't matter. And he said, and I quote, once you become a superstar, why are you paying for a belt? Why are you throwing your money down the drain? It's like buying a gold chain. It looks good, but so what? And he said he's not trying to basically crap on the WBC, WBA, IBF, WBO bandwagons. He says, but truthfully, you get to a point where the belts don't matter. And I've said that many, many times about some of the all-time great fighters. You think Floyd Mayweather needed to fight for a belt to sell out stadiums, or even Canelo? Canelo can. And speaking of the battle between Zuffa Boxing and the four sanctioning bodies, I told you guys that Jay Apatey signed with Zuffa Boxing. Well, now Jay Apatey and Brandon Gluton is going to be not only fighting in Las Vegas on a future card, but they're also going to be fighting for the first Zuffa Boxing Championship. So this is where it's all starting, okay? Now, Apatey is 29-0, 23 knockouts. Glanton, he's not a bad fighter. I mean, he's ranked. He's 21-3 with 18 knockouts. This is really the first major title fight he has. He's ranked by the WBC at number 8. The WBO has him at number 11. The IBF has him at number 15. And the WBA doesn't have him rated at all. The computer has him at 18. Ring Magazine has him at number 10. He's not rated on the ESPN rankings. And the IBO Top 100 has him as 9. So, I mean, it's a legitimate fight for Jay Apatey, first belt, Zuffa Boxing. And speaking of Zuffa Boxing, to add more to the battle between Dana White and Zuffa Boxing and them going up against the 4 sanctioning bodies. Zuffa Boxing announced that it's only going to recognize 8 divisions. I love this. Dana is hitting on every single thing that boxing people have talked about over the last 25 years of what's wrong with the sport. All right. And one of them is too many weight classes. Now, why are there too many weight classes, boys and girls? The reason why there's so many weight classes is so that you can crown more champions and sanctioning bodies get more money, right? I mean, look, we all knew it. We all knew that sanctioning bodies get their money from sanctioning fees. And we all crack up about how many effing belts there are around. I mean, a fighter with 10 wins comes walking out. He's got 6 guys carrying belts, and he's already got belts, So, I mean, it's definitely diluted, so that right off the bat, by only going with 8 weight classes. Now, I told you when we did our ratings, we went with 9. We went with the original 8 and cruiserweight. What Zuffa Boxing's doing is they too are going with cruiserweight, but they're eliminating the flyweight. That means the lowest weight fighters who used to be able to compete with a couple of pound differences, like 105, it was a weight class, 108, 112, 115. Now they all have to decide which weight they want to go because bantamweight max is 118 pounds. That's not that crazy. That's not that crazy when you think about it. So I again, I like that. The Jay Apatea Glanton, I don't know if I mentioned, but that fight's taking place on March 8th. That'll be the next card. So we got that fight coming up in a couple of weeks. And we'll have our first cruiserweight champion. And, Dana White said, I've talked a lot of smack about the things that I didn't like about boxing. But I also said, if you look at the UFC and not just the success of it, but the sustainability of it, I took everything that I loved about boxing and everything that I hated about boxing, and that's how we built the UFC. So if it works for the UFC, it should definitely work for boxing. We'll see how this all plays out over the next year. But I always just put my head down and we got to do what we got to do and just keep grinding. Well, guess what? I love that approach. And the truth of the matter is not only this is what kills me about the sanctioning bodies. They're all blaming Dana White and Zuffa Boxing for trying to copy the UFC model, but that's exactly what they did. They are trying to copy that model by isolating just the fighters that fight for their belts. It's only been recent, the last half a dozen years, where unification fights were actually the sanctioning bodies worked with each other to make them happen. But as soon as they happen, bam, they strip them. They strip them of those titles, So, in addition, Zuffa Boxing is looking to do a show now. This is the one. Okay, I do have one knock on Dana White's Zuffa Boxing. Now you got to give him credit. He's on Paramount Plus, right? So he's putting his events in front of millions of eyes, more than the stupid PBC that still does pay-per-views for their shitty fights. And I would love to know the numbers of those fights. But in any event, Zuffa Boxing seems to like the Sunday fight, which I think is, I don't know, man. I don't know if I like fights on Sundays. I love them Saturday afternoons, like watching the fights from the UK and on the other side of the pond. But he's planning one for Easter Sunday and Mother's Day. I mean, does he know something I don't know? I mean, the truth of the matter is that Mother's Day and Easter Sunday. I mean, if you could pick 2 days that it's the most least likely that people are going to watch anything on TV, let alone boxing, wouldn't it be those 2 days? I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Shout out to Love It and my man Sean from ADK Gutters. He's in the chat room. My girl Dahlia Duran, all having some talking in the chat room. Some come on over. I just don't get it. He's saying, Sean said the same thing, not on Mother's Day and Easter. Sunday ain't good for boxing. I'm sorry. Dana, I disagree with you on that. Did you catch what he said today? I'm loving this because the sanctioning bodies are panicking, and they should. They really should. But he says, Dana White said, people are asking him how he thinks they're doing, with the first three shows. And, he's progressively getting the shows better. He's getting some signed talent, and it looks like he's going to have a couple more pretty soon. And he's being a little more soft on he's not recognizing titles. I'm sure that he's given fighters an opportunity to defend their belts from other sanctioning bodies, but he's not mentioning it in the marketing. And I bet you that in those cases, the fighters definitely have to pay their own sanctioning fees. Hey, listen, you're hearing these stories, with Shakur Stevenson and Terrence Crawford, they had to pay the sanctioning fees. It's not always at that level, yeah, but lower levels. When I promoted shows, I'm telling you, for world title fights, I paid the sanctioning fee. But I wasn't paying millions of dollars like these guys end up paying with some of the purses that they're making. But anyway, Dana White says the boxing world hasn't put up even the slightest resistance in these three big boxing events that we did without a more competitive reaction. It's an uneven playing field. We won't even have any significant opposition. And frankly, it's like hitting babies. He says, I feel good, but a little worried because I feel like I'm hitting babies. Traditional companies thought they were going to react and be braver. We didn't think this was going to be easy. We didn't think this was going to be so easy, which makes me very surprised. What he's saying here is that, they had anticipated, once he started doing events, and I think he's patting himself on the back a little hard because the first three events that he had, they weren't all-star events, but I think what they showed us is that he's going to be putting on competitive fights. And I, when you look at what's going on in combat sports, right? Boxing has become, not only is it like, Peyton Place with all the saga you hear, nobody promotes. So the fighters are talking smack on social media, and it's so boring because none of it happens. And then they get into the ring and, they're running around, pussyfooting around, and they're winning on points, and they're always crying robbery. And it's like, it's not entertaining. I don't care how much you try to sell the fact that it's the sweet science and all of this, because all you got to do is start looking at the numbers of different types of combat sports. Obviously, UFC, right? But what about these other combat sports that are sneaking up? The bare knuckle boxing. I don't know if you caught it, but they had a big event like their big version of WrestleMania. I'm just gonna say, and the place was sold out. It was in Philly. It was mobbed, and a lot of people are following that. Why? Because it's entertaining. And I think Dana White and Zuffa Boxing are offering an entertaining product. And you watch when they start getting these bigger names. The lower names are fighting each other, or the no names are fighting each other. And, we're seeing better fights. And what's going to happen? I said this from day one, and this is not, listen, it's not rocket science, but it's the truth. If a fighter has to fight tougher opposition on his way up, right? By the time he gets to the top, these Zuffa Boxing / Dana White world champions are going to be the best fighters in their divisions. They're going to be, because they had a tough road to get there. I want to give you an example. There's a fight this weekend, okay, in Atlantic City, and they're promoting this fight. It's Albanian heavyweight Christian, they call him KP Prenga. He's got a record of 19-1 with all of his wins coming by knockout, and he has the one loss. He's riding a 15 win streak into this fight. And who's he fighting? He's fighting Joe Jones. And they're billing this guy as the next thing. He's he's going to be a world champion, all this stuff. 19-0. He's going for his 20th win. Joe Jones, who is he? Joe Jones, 16 wins, 14 losses, 1 draw, 10 of his wins coming by knockout. So, I mean, okay, so you say to yourself, all right, so Prenga's being protected, right? Let's take a look at Prenga. He's 35 years old. His biggest win of his 19 Ws was a 15th round stoppage over Joey DeWejko, and that took place in 2024. Now, I give him credit for Joey DeWejko. Joey DeWejko is a tough fighter. And to knock him out in the 5th round, I give him credit for that. But that's it. That's the only credible win that he has on his resume at 19-1. Oh, and who did he lose to? He lost an 8-round majority decision in his 5th pro fight. Now, that's a telltale right there. All right, that's a telltale. So they've been building him up. Now, who's Joe Jones, right? Well, he's 30 years old. Prenga's 35. Jones is 30 years old. He's of his 14 losses, he was stopped 7 times. He lost his last 10 fights in a row. His last fight was a majority decision win over Cleotis Pendarvis. Yeah, that Cleotis Pendarvis. He's been fighting forever. He's 40-something years old. That took place this year, January 26th, so he could get a win so that they would let him fight in New Jersey. All right. Now, my point is I'm not knocking Prenga at all, but my point is that that's what Zuffa Boxing and Dana White are competing against. How entertaining is this fight going to be? And if it is entertaining, and Prenga struggles with his opponent, Mr. Jones, he's going to devalue himself. Look, managers, promoters, whoever's involved with fighters that are doing this, that are not increasing their level of opposition with each fight, are not doing their fighters any favors. All they're trying to do is build up cash value with an undefeated or once or twice beaten fighter to get a big payday and cash out. They don't care about building a fighter. The truth of the matter is if you want to build a fighter that's going to become a champion and stay there for a while, which means making big dollar purses, let them get better. You're not going to get better unless you fight better opposition. I say it all the time. If a football team, the best football team, played the worst football team week in and week out, are they really the best team?